Good morning, everyone. We'll start the webinar very quickly. Today, we're going to talk about NAD+, which is a precursor. It's a form of energy for your body, and it's the fuel for the sirtuin genes. So just hang with us. We'll be started in just a little bit. Good morning.
Hey, Doc. Hi.
Hey,
I was
how are you?
inviting people. I was inviting people.
Were ya? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's already been a long day for me. Got up at 6, took the dogs for a walk.
Uh-huh.
So
Well,
we're live on Facebook, by the way. We're already live on
I
Facebook.
figured we were live on Facebook. That's
I
cool.
figured while I was waiting for you, I just go live on Facebook, and so I jumped on early.
Yeah. Guess what? We have an infestation of army worms in Michigan. They're eating all the leaves off the trees.
Are those green worms?
They're hairy and brown.
Hmm.
They're like, my daughter has 2 huge oak trees in her yard. They're stripped. Nothing
Really?
on them. Yeah, if you go out if you go out near the woods at all, their droppings are dropping constantly like rain.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
What can you do about it?
Well, I'm gonna go in and buy duct tape. You can wrap your trees and keep them from climbing up into the tree. Although they float on strings like kind of like a silkworm from tree to tree
Wow.
when they want to. But you can stop a lot of them that way, but it's not a whole lot you can do.
Wow.
Yeah, and I wanted to say to our audience that I'm not stuck up. These guys, they comment in there, and I would love to come in and comment with them, but Facebook got their panties in a wad, and they don't let me change between admin and personal anymore, or I can't find it. So if anybody out there knows how to do that, let me know. Because when I come in and comment on any comments, it's like I'm commenting as you.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
not good. Because
No, so
your comments might not be what I'm thinking.
I know, right? You don't want me to do that.
That's right. That's right. Well, what a week, Andrea. We've had a great week, huh? Beautiful weather and sunshine. A lot of good information out there. I mean, we really are at an age, a time in the world where there's lots of good information.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of good information, and we can even go back a couple years, 10 years, 20 years, and we can, with the internet, and see information that's out there that was published years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just wanted to comment on that first, because I think that so many people get, they listen to one source of information and they don't get all the information.
Right. We have everything at our fingertips.
It's right there. It's right there. You gotta kind of know where to look, and sometimes people tell me, they say, well, who do you believe? On one side, you have research that says this. On the other side, you have research that says that contradicts this information from over here.
Well, what I do is I try to gather information from several sources, and then I kind of sort through it and figure out what the truth is to me.
What the truth is to you, yeah, because
Mhm.
I mean, right? I mean, the truth and facts are always being disproven, and so you have to just kind of make your choice on things. But like I was just reading the other day, they were talking about vitamin D, for example, and one study showed that vitamin D was so important. It was important in this and that and this and that, all these different things, but it was dependent upon vitamin K and magnesium.
Right. I saw your article on that.
Yeah, so if you didn't have enough vitamin K and magnesium, the vitamin D wouldn't work. It wouldn't do the things that it was supposed to do. And so some research comes out and they just strictly look at vitamin D, and then they don't get the same information.
Right. And we've talked so many times about how everything's a circle in the body. Everything is interconnected. So you can't just extract one thing out,
That's right.
because we weren't designed that way. And I'm wondering if that's, I've had some muscle testing done on the 2 vitamin D products that I purchased and used all last winter, and it says I'm not assimilating any of it. So I'm guessing I don't get enough magnesium based on your article.
Or vitamin K.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the two.
So I need something like that.
Yeah. So the reason I bring this up and I talk about it is because I hear people saying that to me all the time. They say, "Oh yeah, you're just into selling your products," and I'm like, "Well, no, actually, you know, I'm always looking for something that better.
Mm-hmm.
If the products that I'm promoting are the best, of course that's what I'm going to promote. I'm not going to promote a second class product, but you
Right.
know, so." Andrea, today I really wanted to talk about something called NAD plus. Have you heard of that?
My favorite thing.
Yeah, NAD plus. And you can't take, like, I can't take a handful of NAD.
That's right. You have to
I
make
can,
it.
I have to make it, right? Now, I guess you were telling me, or maybe Dr. Schunkweiler was telling me that there is a doctor down in Oklahoma that's doing NAD injections or infusions.
I saw a video on somebody doing that, like even 4 years ago when I first started researching the NAD, and they were doing infusion NAD.
That's right. You know, so
Hmm.
what is NAD? NAD is a source of energy in your body. I mean, let's just sum it
Hmm.
up real quickly without having to get into it. It's a source of energy.
Yep, in your
And
cells.
yep, and it's a carrier of hydrogen. And hydrogen is, in my opinion, and I guess I would say in the opinion of a lot of scientists, it's the ultimate energy source, you know,
Right.
for anything. The
Hmm.
ultimate energy source. And so NAD is important. And so if you can't take NAD, then what?
Well,
You
how
have
do
to.
we make NAD?
How do you make it? And so before we get into that, I just really wanted to talk about, you know, when we look at NAD, I brought my little note card today, and
Okay.
they found that it's a key factor in longevity. They found that
Hmm.
it's found in every living cell in any living creature.
Yeah, and I remember hearing that without it in 30 seconds you'd be dead.
Yep. So it's
Yep.
in worms, it's in snakes, it's in mice and rats and monkeys and hippopotamuses and giraffes and humans.
Yep.
It's in all of us. And so do you remember the studies that we talked about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, that showed that with age, your NAD levels decline?
Hmm. They plummet. Yep.
Yeah. When was that turning point? When did they start declining? You
They
remember?
actually started declining from birth.
From birth.
Yeah, I just saw a video this morning. I was reviewing some of that information, and a guy was explaining that by, oh geez, what was it? An early age, like half of it's gone, like by age 20. But by the time you're 70, you only have like 12.5% left normally.
12.5% of the NAD that you started at birth with.
That
Holy
that
cow.
your body processes, yeah, that will make.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So somebody might ask this smart question. They say, well, but then yeah, that must be nature's way of saying you don't need it.
Oh no, not according to the research.
Right.
Yeah, it's
But
actually the
that might be
opposite.
true. That might be true, right? I mean, but so is aging and so is death. They're part of nature as well. So if you want to kind of hack that system, now what's your answer? I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. You know,
Well,
why do we need it later?
yeah, but to like go back, I just watched a video by a prominent researcher, doctor that we can't name, who said that we have, help me out with this, we have epigenetics, is that it? Things
Epigenetics.
that control what is like what your cell, your DNA is all the same. How does it know to make a liver cell? How does it know to make a bone cell? It's changed by this chemical process, epigenetics, and they like turn off certain things, turn on certain things. And he was sharing that as we age and lose that ability of having NAD to keep us strong in that, our cells actually change. They become like he said like a bone cell could become a skin cell because the wrong factors get turned on and off as we age and lose the NAD. So yeah, it's pretty important.
So you don't want to lose your NADs.
Keep your NADs.
All right. You know, and I know it's Dr. Sinclair that you're talking about, you know, and he's done a lot of, yeah. Well, we're not saying he promotes our product, so that's what we have to be, just make sure
Right.
that we're clear
He
on
does
that.
great research though.
Yeah, he does some of the best research. So the other thing that NAD does, and you and I have talked about this extensively, is that NAD plus is the fuel for DNA repair. And that's because of the sirtuin genes. So the sirtuin genes, they found that it needs resveratrol, but in order to, you know, resveratrol activates the sirtuin genes, and NAD fuels this process.
Right.
And the sirtuin genes are the genes that are responsible for DNA repair. And so if you lose that ability, I don't care what age you are, if you lose that ability at 25, you're gonna start having old age diseases. And if you lose that ability at the age of 50 or 70 or whatever it happens to be. So one mouse study that I was reading about, and I put this on the post this morning, was that they took mice that were at the end stage of their life. It'd be the equivalent of taking a human at the age of 78.7 years, so 78 and 3/4 years old. And what they did is they gave them a healthy dose of this precursors, these building blocks, so they could boost NAD levels.
Right.
And even at the age of equivalent of 78.7 years in human, with these mice, they increased their lifespan by 5%.
It's great.
Yeah. So that'd be like taking a human, and increasing their lifespan by 4 years. So folks, we're talking about, what if we could give you another 4 years on top of whatever you have? Some might say, well, yeah, but what's the quality of life of those last 4 years? Because that is important.
Better than they would have been if you hadn't.
Yeah. So, but how can we guarantee that? Well, nothing's a guarantee. We can't guarantee it, but we can give you the information, which we have on these videos. If you watch previous videos that we've given, you'll see that we talk about that. We talk about, you know, what can we do to optimize your health so that when you do get older, chronologically, that you look and feel and act like somebody much younger.
Yep.
You know, so that's pretty important. So one of the precursors that they talked about was this nicotinamide riboside.
Yep. It's a tongue twister.
Nicotinamide. Well, how about nicotinamide mononucleotide?
Right. That's another one.
Right. I mean, I had to practice saying that because you'd get all twisted up when you said it. That's why whenever you read any reports,
I like the acronyms NR.
NR and MNM, you know, which sound like M&M, but you know, the thing about these precursors is that if we go back to the 1940s and 1950s, there was already studies being put out on how these NAD plus precursors were so important. And they weren't studying NR, nicotinamide riboside, or NMN, with nicotinamide mononucleotide. They were just studying nicotinaminic acid, which is what? Niacin, vitamin B3.
Okay.
Right? So when you see nicotinaminic acid, it's just another name for niacin. Niacin is what we know it as, vitamin B3. And there was a lot of studies that were already coming out on that, and they said that, you know, it's linked to longevity. It's linked to UV protection from UV rays from the sun, but since that's been out for so long, you can't own that research. So a lot of the research where it's focused on NR and NMN, the reason it's focusing on NR and NMN is because they can own that research. They can own the intellectual science. They can have a patent on owning the science.
Mm-hmm.
They can't own the patent on nicotinaminic acid, which is plain old niacin. Think
Okay.
about that. Okay, so why all of a sudden in the last 4 or 5 years do we see all this science on nicotinamide, or nicotinamide riboside, things like that? Well, that's part of the reason is that,
Mm-hmm.
so like we were saying, you didn't even want to say the guy's name because he's filed lawsuits. I mean, on people that promoted their products using his name. And so what I'm saying is that there's a lot of great research out there. And so some of the science that I was reading this morning, they were talking about the fact that, there's lots of different pathways to make NAD.
Right.
There's lots of
And
different pathways.
we get substances from food sources that make NAD, but according to the famous doctor, there is no way you can eat enough food to really make the amount that you want to.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with them that if you're deficient, you can't. I mean, you could eat enough food. I mean, I'll say you can, but how much would that have to be? I mean, would you have to eat, way too much? And the problem with it is
Mm-hmm.
that most of our food is nutrient deficient. So
Right.
you're getting all these extra calories.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was asking a friend of mine last week. I said, hey, one of the reasons that most of us are overweight is because we're vitamin deficient.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates a nutritional deficiency in our body, which sets up for disease. And so when we talk about obesity, and I brought this up on several occasions, is the disease the cause of the obesity? Is the obesity the cause of the disease? And really, I mean, if it's a nutritional deficiency, there's your disease. And the end result is now you're gonna crave more food. It's actually a craving, like it might be a signal to your body that says, hey, Andrea, you need more vitamin C. But because you don't speak the same language as your brain does when it comes to talking about nutrients, right? You read that message as, hey, I'm hungry,
Right. Mm-hmm.
right? Or, hey, I crave oranges. For some reason, I crave oranges. And you eat a bunch of them, but you're not getting all the vitamin C that you need. So you continue to crave, and all of a sudden, boom, we blow up, we become obese. So getting back to what we were talking about then with the different precursors, you can't get it from eating enough food and things like that. So you have to take concentrated forms of the vitamin to get that deficiency back. Sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes you have to eat, the equivalent. I mean, if you were eating food, you'd have to eat a room full of food to get the same nutrients than you can out of one supplement.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when people say, "Oh, I'm not going to buy any vitamins. I'm just going to get it from food," yeah, I just
Good
tell them, I
luck.
say, "Good luck." Yeah, good luck. Yeah, more power to you. I mean, if you can do it, super. But I mean, you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to eat your normal diet. You're not going to eat that, Happy Meal and get that stuff.
Right.
I mean, even if you put extra ketchup on there for the, but, right. But so some of the other things that nicotinamide riboside and these other niacin precursors, these NAD precursors, they help to protect your body against neuropathy
Mm-hmm.
by helping to control blood sugar and reversing the effects of too much blood sugar.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that these precursors do is they help protect against non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. We've seen a lot about that lately on the news. In the last 2 years, we've seen a lot more on non-alcoholic fatty liver disease because
Mm-hmm.
their doctors are recognizing it more often in patients. So if you're taking these NAD precursors, you can actually reverse that. And we've talked about the sirtuin gene. But one of the things that we haven't mentioned, I remember way back, this is the biggest thing when I started hearing about this research, was stem cells.
They're important.
But remember when all this hoopla on NAD precursors was coming out. I mean, we had well, I mean, we had some science that said this is what's going to make it possible to get to Mars.
Oh yeah, for the repair, right?
Yeah, because it repairs against the UV
Mhm.
radiation damage, right? Do you
Oh,
remember that?
I'm a testament to that. I
Yeah.
totally am.
I mean, yeah, redhead. I mean, you got burned
Mhm.
like like crazy.
In my entire childhood, I was burned. So what's amazing is since I started taking our supplement that has these precursors in it, I rarely burn, and I'm usually working outside all day long. I'm not sitting and baking in the sun. I'm moving in and out of shadow and sunlight and working in gardens and building things, and I don't burn anymore. And if I do, I don't burn very much, and it's healed overnight.
Yep. That's same with my
Mhm.
skin. I mean, you look at my skin. Yeah, I got I got color. I've been outside. I'm outside every day.
Mhm.
If it's not raining,
Yeah,
I'm outside.
I have a better tan than I've ever had in my life because
Yeah.
now I don't burn, I tan.
But I used to think it was because I started going to Australia, and so I kind of
Mhm.
preconditioned my skin to sunlight. Because they have tremendous sunlight down there in the winter. When it's winter here, it's summer there, and so I used to think it was that. And
Mhm.
but at the same time, about the exact same time, I start taking all these NAD precursors, right? And so
Right.
I don't like you. If I get burnt, it heals up. So there's a lot of good studies on that say that these precursors help to protect you against UV damage, and it also enhances the DNA repair to repair the cells that have been damaged by the UV radiation. Isn't that something?
Mhm. Yeah, it's wonderful.
So a B vitamin can help
Mhm.
you with lowering your risk of certain types of cancer. We can't say prevents or cures or anything like that. Anything we talk about in these videos, Andrea, we want to make sure that you as the listener know
Mhm.
we're not saying cure, we're not saying treat, we're not saying prevent, because we can't say that. Everybody's different in how you interact with the environment around you
Right.
is different. Your
But there
genetics
is
are
a
different.
lot of research on it out there, and it's very easy to find.
Yeah. And so it's you know something that we should all do after, like you said, after the age of 20. I mean, holy cow, you start to see all these things start to
Mhm.
fall. Well, why not do something about it? Why not do something about it? And in fact, if you look at the research that Tom Senior had done, when Tom was talking about the product that we're going to mention in a little bit here, he uh he said if you're over the age of 40, you actually want to double up on taking this.
Mhm. And
And
most of us did. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people did, and a lot of people continue that. You know,
Mhm.
our friend Rennie was on the call the other night, and she was saying she continues to take 12 a day of
Yep.
these capsules, and some people should. So that's pretty cool stuff. So as I'm looking at my notes that I wrote down this morning, the only other thing that I write on there is that it you know energy, DNA repair, skin protection, UV protection, blood sugars, um, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, neuropathy. All these things are mentioned in the research. And again,
Mhm.
folks, Google it. You
Kidney
know,
disease. Yeah.
kidney
Mhm.
disease as well. Yeah,
Yep.
Google this stuff. I mean, we're not saying that. So we haven't mentioned any product because we just are. We have to report on the research first separately.
Right.
We have to make a clear definition that this is the research on the raw ingredients. Even tryptophan is a
Mhm.
precursor to NAD. And where do you get tryptophan, Andrea? You know,
Turkey.
turkey,
Other
uh,
things too, but turkey is the
eggs.
most well known. Mhm.
Well, it's where you hear about it, and the main reason you
Right.
hear about it is because at Thanksgiving everybody falls asleep because of the serotonin
Right.
boost. Um, But really, it's not your best source. Eggs actually have more tryptophan than turkey does,
Oh,
and
that's good. I eat eggs every day.
safer to eat eggs than turkey, because turkey is raised on these big turkey farms where they feed them lots of steroids. But yeah. So if your body's deficient on tryptophan, I remember my friend Dr. Marty Hines. He was talking about how much tryptophan you actually have to take to rebuild your levels if you're deficient. And he said that you had to eat the equivalent of 18 eggs a day.
I don't do that many.
Or 6 full-size steaks.
Ooh, steak. That sounds good.
Right? Or 3 steaks and 9 eggs.
Mm.
No, he never said that. I'm just changing the numbers a little bit there. But the thing about it is that, like you said earlier, you can't eat enough food. I mean, who's going to sit down and eat 6 steaks a day for a period of time to build those levels back up? Nobody, right? So that's why we need things like supplements, because
Now, while we're still on research, I want to share like the biggest impact of when I first learned about this 4 years ago was a video, and I tried to find it today to share with you, and maybe you could share it on here, but I couldn't find it for some reason. But in the beginning, I watched a video where the scientists took 2-year-old mice, which are close to death, like what you were saying, around 80 years old. And they gave them these precursors, and then they measured numerous levels, like what changes were taking place. Their coat became shiny again. Their eyes became clear. All their gray hair disappeared. They ran tests on them for endurance. They had more in the old mice. And what they did is they compared them to mice that were only 2 months old. So they took like 2-year-old mice, compared them to 2-month-old mice. And they ran endurance tests, and the old mice who were given the precursors actually had more endurance and strength than the young mice that didn't get the precursors. So they had all these great changes, and within 2 weeks, mouse life, within 2 weeks, they couldn't tell the old mice from the young mice.
Wow. I remember that study. I remember that video.
That was impactful on I was like, what?
Yeah. But you remember all the testimonials when we first came out with the product. I mean, we had what was her name out in the West Coast, out in Portland,
Margaret.
that had
Margaret.
She had she had those blown discs. She had arthritis. They could see them on X-ray. And then 2 months or 3 months, whatever. I don't remember how many months she was on the product. But after being on the product, her doctor re-X-rayed her back, and all of that stuff had gone away. I mean, it was documented on X-ray.
Yeah, the arthritis had gone away. And I have all of those it's called Age Pill Testimonies, I think, in my YouTube channel, McKinney TV. So if anybody wants to go watch all those testimonies that we recorded, 3 years ago.
Right.
It's all there.
Put a link on it. Put a link on it on this Facebook page after we're done.
Okay.
And then if you could also go on my YouTube channel where I place all the videos, which is SWT World Team YouTube channel. And and if you could comment, and in the comments put that link there as well.
Okay. So it'll come from you, but I'll do it.
Well, on the YouTube channel, it'll come from you. But so folks, if you're watching this video on YouTube, go to the comment section below the YouTube channel, right down there, and you'll see the link that Andrea is going to put on there, where she's got all these testimonials. But I mean, for me, Andrea, I just remember when I started taking this, and I started taking it early, right before the product actually came out, because I had started reading about the science even before Tom made the announcement that he was coming out with this product, right? And I started taking some of these precursors in their raw form, and so I wasn't getting the heavy concentration like what we have with this product. But man, Andrea, I remember that first thing that I noticed was I don't wear reading glasses anymore.
Right, my eyesight's improved too.
Yeah, and that was one of the benefits when you read up on these, what they call nootropics. Nootropics, right? It's a classification of science that deals with supplements for the brain, eyes, and for vision and for hearing
Oh,
and things like that. Nootropics, right? Nootropics, right? And but I remember that. I didn't have to wear reading glasses. I don't even know where my reading glasses are. If I mean, I don't. It's been years since I think one of my dogs ate them.
yeah. Like, well, I know it's been like 3.5 years because we've all been taking this about 4 years now. And that was something you had happen right away.
Right away. And then the other thing that I noticed is that when I go for walks with my dogs, um, it just seemed like colors got brighter. And
Yeah.
this is backed by science too. I mean, you can go find science that talks about
Mhm.
this because all of a sudden the rods and cones in your eyes are start working better.
Yep.
And
Sky's
and
bluer, trees are greener.
I found that so I could see better. I found that I could see colors better. There was more definition. I mean, all this stuff was just so much better. And then I started to notice that I used to always have, a pocket full of post-it notes. End of the day, I'd be pulling out my notes and I'd be going, okay, what did I forget to do today? You know, and all of a sudden now I don't have a pocket full of post-it notes. I don't have to have that make that to-do list. I used to send myself text messages the night before of the things that I needed to get done tomorrow, so I wouldn't
Yep.
forget. You
Hmm.
know, and now I don't need to do that anymore. I mean, it's pretty cool. So my memory has improved, and that's what they found. Another thing that they found with these NAD precursors is that cognition was better. They found that they can make changes in people that have even those that have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And again, folks, I'm not saying cure, treat, anything like that. I'm just saying that they saw changes, positive changes in those people. So
And this is all backed by research too.
all back. I mean, everything we've talked
Mhm.
about so far is research on the raw ingredients. We're not talking about our product. Because we haven't done research. We're not a research lab. We're a formulation company.
Right.
So we take the best of the best of the best. We take all that science, 20 full-time scientists. So now, folks, I'm going to make a clear definition here. We're going away from the science, and now we're going to start talking about product. And we're going to
Right.
talk about this product right here,
The H pill,
the H-pill,
anti-glycation extreme.
anti-glycation extreme. And so what we formulated, what Sizzle formulated, we've got 20 full-time scientists working up in a lab down in Utah.
Hmm.
They're locked in a room and they can't come out, and they food is delivered. No, I'm just kidding. But until they come up with the ultimate product, right?
That's right. We lock them up.
But there's full-time scientists, and what they're doing is they're researching the research.
Yep.
They're going through all of the research that I went through. I remember when Tom came out with the Stemolytic product. He said, "Well, Kurt," he said, "I want you to know everything that I know about it." So all of a sudden, he starts sending me pages and pages and pages and pages and files and files and files of research that was out there. I mean,
Yep.
before I went to Australia back in 2020, I mean, he had me read probably close to 30 files of information, and he wanted me to know the stuff, and I learned on it. But there's that kind of information that the scientists at Supernaturals are going through. And so they're putting this stuff together. How much tryptophan do we need? What's the best form of tryptophan? L-tryptophan, 5-hydroxytryptophan, and we won't get into which form, and then carnosine and carnitine, the difference between carnosine and carnitine, and then and D-ribose and alpha lipoic acid, and nicotinamide riboside, nicotinamide mononucleotide, all these different things, nicotinaminic acid. In what formulation do you get the best? And what are we on, the sixth? Are we on the sixth formulation now of the H pill?
I think, yeah, it's been revised that many times. 5 or 6. Yep.
5 or 6 times. Because I mean, like he just, one year when I was out in Utah, I was visiting him, and he said he was going to add something to it, um, called rosmarinic acid, right? Rosemary, extract from rosemary, from the plant rosemary, right? And you take a look at, at some of the most ancient medicinal herbs on the planet, right? Curcumin, rosemary, sage, right? Those are some of the most ancient ones. And so what they found was is that this also enhanced the whole ability of all this stuff to be converted into NAD. So
Awesome.
we're not just going down one pathway. If you look at all the other products that are on the market, as far as I know, they're going one route. You know, they
Yep.
might use NR. Another company might use NMN. Another one might do this, but they're just going down one pathway. What we're doing is we're going down, I think Tom said, 5 different pathways to make an NAD.
Yep.
5 different pathways. So that's why the product is so important. And people say, well, why do you have to take so much? Why do you have to, after the age of 40, why do you have to take 12 a day?
Yeah, I know. I talked to Tom when he first came out with it. Like, I don't even think it had been released yet. And I was talking to him and he said, oh yeah, well, you know, you're going to take 6 a day is normal, but if you're older or if you really want fast results, you do 12 a day. I go, 12 a day? And he goes, well, do you want it to work or not? You know, he says, I can't make a capsule big enough. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's what people said to me. Well, can't you just put it into one supplement so you can just take it one big pill? Yeah, I'm gonna take one big pill.
Right.
You know, but yeah, you know, I mean, there is the problem with that. You know, I mean, some people have a hard time swallowing that many capsules, and you know, so you have to spread it out through the day. You have to kind of get in a habit of spreading it out through the day. You know, I have a bottle of the A.G.E laying here on my dining room table. I have another one upstairs in my bathroom. I have another one in my kitchen. I have another one in my you know, in my travel bag, so that I can always be taking it all the time. You know.
Oh, I just take it all at once. Like, I'll do something that I'll walk around my gardens in the morning to see what's blooming, and with my glass of water and my handful of whatever, and I'll just pop them in as I walk around. Just do something that's distracting, you know, or watch your morning video or whatever you're doing, you know, you just sit there and pop them in.
But whatever it takes. I mean,
You know, because
everybody's
it
different.
works best if you're doing it on an empty stomach.
On an empty stomach, which, you know, some people, they have a hard time understanding empty stomach. Empty stomach would be half an hour before you eat, you know, 20 minutes to half an hour before you eat, or an hour after you eat. And the reason why is because when you eat, or even when you think about eating, your body starts changing. It starts making changes. It starts preparing for the food. You know, you start chewing. You get enzymes that are released. And some of these enzymes, then they destroy part of the ingredients in what we have. So when you're looking at a lot of these other products that use just simply one ingredient, one pathway, what happens is that a lot of it is destroyed by the stomach acid before it ever gets into your system. I mean, I remember reading that over 50% of some of the best-selling products is destroyed before you ever get it into your system.
Right.
Yeah.
So specifically for the A.G.E pill, you want to do it on an empty stomach.
Yep.
So I keep it by my bed. I wake up early and I take them, you know, and if I don't, walk around, take them.
But if you forget, take them anyhow, because they're gonna still work, you know, and it's better than skipping them. I mean, 50% absorption is better than 0 absorption, right?
Yeah, and 50% of our product is like a couple 100% of some others.
Well, you know, we can't really say that. I mean, all you can say is that in your opinion, you know, it's that way. I mean, that's one thing.
I contacted some of them. I know what they have in their product.
We just want to be really clear with people that, you know, we're not trying to make any medical claims, anything like that. We're just saying that, hey, this is what people have noticed since they start taking the product. You know, we should pull up those old videos. It'd be interesting to see, you know, I mean, when you and I first started doing these calls, that was about, you know, 6 years ago. And that's about isn't that when the A.G.E pill came out?
4 years ago.
It was only 4 years ago. Wow. So it was only in July of
Mhm.
2017.
Yep,
I was
exactly.
I was thinking it came out before that, because
No.
it was about a year before that I started taking some of the precursors in a
Mhm.
raw form. But so it'd be interesting to pull back and look and see how much have we aged in 4 years. You know,
Mhm. Yeah, I have 3 videos that I made about my results, back then, and I can stick those in comments too, so people
yeah,
can see it.
yeah. I'll go back and we can go back and look and see. What we were talking about the age pill, and we can look. How did it change our hair? I noticed that. The other day I was just looking in the mirror, and I don't have as much gray hair, and I used to have. I was getting a lot of gray hair right here,
Mhm.
and my mustache and my beard was gray. I'm getting more of the blonde hair. My beard used to be red though. Can you imagine that?
Oh, yeah, a lot of people have red hair on their beards.
Yeah, when I was a baby, when I was born, I was a redhead. And then all my hair fell out and it came out this color.
Mhm. Yeah.
Then it started to turn gray and then it was falling out. And now it came back this color again. Maybe it'll turn red again someday. Who knows?
Could be.
But, you know, so folks, I mean, the whole thing is that, if you want to reverse aging, if you want to stay healthy, you want to have, an important thing isn't how long you live, right? That's not the
It's how
important thing.
healthy you live.
Your health span. How
Yeah,
long do you live healthy? I mean, I
right.
remember, talking about this. You and I talked about it quite a bit. You know, a majority of people spend their last 10 years
And
unhealthy.
painting and suffering.
Yeah, can't travel, can't do this, can't do that, just no fun, um, you know, suffering.
Well,
And
that's what
so
we're trying to avoid, right? And we're trying to help other people avoid it too. That's why we do these calls every Tuesday.
every Tuesday, right? And
Right.
some people, like I was talking to my friend Dave the other day, and my friend Dave, he said, well, I'm taking this and this and this. And I said, great. I said, you're
Mhm.
doing something. You know, I said,
Right.
I've looked at those products. I don't think they're quite as strong as what we have, but at least you're doing something. And
Mhm.
and so whatever you're doing, you want to have a longer health span. Health span.
Right.
How many years that you're healthy. You don't want to spend the last 10 years of your life in a nursing home. You know, I mean, you want to be healthy. You want to be able to live, and that's the whole thing. Is that so we can stave off those diseases for a period of time. There's lots of good studies on it, and
Mhm.
so you and I we talk about the age pill, the AGE pill, however you want to say it. We talk about stemolytics. We've talked about resveratrol,
Mhm.
which is our Eternity product. We talked about fucoidan, weight loss. You know,
TSI.
yeah. I was just reading a study this morning, and they were talking about how they're working on a drug. Of course, they're always working on a drug that makes your body think you're healthy, even if you're extremely overweight, if you're obese.
Well, some people think actually some people think that I had a situation in my life where I always felt like I was overweight when I was younger when I wasn't overweight. And then I had a mental change. And later, when I got overweight, I was like, I need a little bit of that craziness back because now I don't know I'm fat,
Yeah. Yeah. So you needed that drug that makes your brain think that, oh
right?
no, yeah, I'm not, inside I'm not overweight. Sure, I look in the mirror, I'm overweight, but inside I'm not. And well, anyhow, as you can expect, they're having some problems.
Oh, I would imagine.
Yeah, you can't trick the brain for a long enough period of time to actually make it so it works. I mean, the brain figures you out and it says, hey, Kurt, you're fooling us here. You're not that healthy, you know. And so weight loss is important. And Andrea, I've talked about weight loss on the call, but I never successfully did it. I didn't find anything that worked. All of a sudden now here we are. You know, I'm 50 pounds down, almost 50 pounds
Yep.
down, and I'm able to maintain my weight. That's important. You know, I'm able
Yeah.
to maintain it. So even through traveling down to New Orleans and visiting my son and breaking my back
Mhm.
and falling on the ice, breaking my back last winter, having my son get married, summertime, hanging out with friends, doing different things, I'm maintaining. Not only did I lose, I'm maintaining.
Yep.
That's important. That's important. And I'm going to continue to lose weight.
So am I.
Yeah. I told my kid, I said, my goal now, because I've seen how this works, I'm going to be back to my goal, to my college weight. I'm going to be back down to under 190. My goal is 185.
Great.
And I started at almost 280. So
And the
that's
thing is,
95 pounds.
we're not losing just weight, or we're not losing weight per se. We're losing fat.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference. You don't want to lose your muscle. You want to maintain your muscle. So
Yeah.
whatever you're doing out there, you need to make sure that that's what's happening.
You know, my biggest concern, Andrea, is I don't want to have these big droopy, you know, jowls. I don't want to have like, you know, big old fat rolls on the back of my neck because I was fat. You know, I'm losing almost 100 pounds. So there's going to be some excess skin.
Yep. But
You know.
it'll tighten up.
Yep. So I'm reading every week I'm reading up on how do you tighten the skin naturally? What do you have to take? What do you have to do? And you know, that was one of the reasons I started talking about this morning, because in my research of tightening skin, I came upon the ingredients that we have in here.
Awesome.
It helps to tighten skin. I read on ingredients that we have in some of our Sizzle skincare products. So every day I'm lathering up on that stuff, you know, and so there you go. What time is it? I think we've gone over again. Yeah, we've talked almost an hour again. You know, Andrea, it's always fun to talk to you on Tuesdays, share important information, and you know, it's just in a fun way. We're not being, you know, like a preacher up there on the board, you know, not reading from the
Right.
Bible. You know,
We're just sharing
so,
information. That's all
yeah.
we do. Yep.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for being here, Andrea. Thanks for being here every Tuesday.
You too, Doc. Have
All
a
right.
great day. Bye,
Bye.
folks.